Welcome back, guys. Today we're going to be having a discussion about improvising and thinking outside the box. Stay tuned. Alright guys, so as you can see, we're in a place that you have not seen before. Normally we're at the campsite or we're in the shop or in the studio. We're actually in my blacksmith shop today. And the reason why we're here is because I want to do a discussion and talk about thinking outside the box and improvising in a survival situation. Now, this mindset can go throughout any way or any place of survival, but what I'm going to be talking about specifically is a grid down situation, or like what I call the zombie apocalypse. Now, I've said this in past videos, but I want to kind of reiterate it again. I don't truly believe the zombie apocalypse is going to happen, or at least happen in a way that it shows on TV or in movies. But I use that mindset because it covers everything from civil unrest to grid down to natural disaster, everything in between. So, I mean, diseases and all of that. So I want to talk today about building in a mindset for survival in that kind of situation so that you think outside the box and you're not struggling when all the obvious places for survival items disappear. All right, guys, so I'm going to set up this scenario that the zombie apocalypse has already happened. You were trying to bug out and for some reason, you were stuck in an area you weren't planning on being in. Now, you and your bug out group, I am going to say, is of about 20 people. Because if you don't have a good sized bug out group, surviving certain things you're not going to be able to do on your own. You have to have a team. And you have to have a network of people that know different things, right? We've talked about that in previous videos. But say you are stuck, and I'm going to talk about the zones again that I talked about in a previous video also. But you remember I started with zone 1, and if you looked at it as a bullseye, being the center, being a city, that's zone 1. Then out from that, I call urban, which is going to be more commercial buildings, your big box stores, your inner city homes, things like that. And then from that, I go into what I call the suburbs or residential. Then we get into rural, which is your farms and your more broad areas where there's not a lot of people. And then we get into the wilderness. So say you're stuck somewhere between zone 1 and 2 and you can't get out, and you make your permanent base a warehouse. I don't know, I'm just picking something out of my head. It could be an old bank building, it can be an old industrial building, but it is secure. There's not a ton of windows, it's more block, very secure building. And now you're needing to transition from survival every day to sustainability. And you're needing to turn this into what is now going to be your home, at least for the time being, or for whatever long stretch of period of time this is. And I want to talk about a place, and this is the thinking outside the box, on where you can find resources that most people will not touch. They won't even think about it. They might go in, steal a few items that they see right off the bat, but they're not going to go through here digging for things. Because to be honest, by this point, say it's a couple months in, you're starting to have to do a lot more scavenging out. You're going to have to be a whole lot more improvising on tools, improvising on equipment that you use. And again, guys, in survival, especially this kind of survival, everything is a survival tool. You're going to have to be able to improvise tools, improvise cooking implements, improvise ways of shelter. And this place that I thought of, no one really thinks about. I've never actually heard anyone, and there could be videos out there, so please don't think I'm discrediting anyone. I've never found videos that really go into detail thinking on this. And I could have missed something, but if there is something out there, shoot me a video, I'd love to watch it. Or shoot me a link and I'd love to watch it. So you're needing to find supplies to turn this place into a home. This is where you're going to be. And the spot that I thought of is an office building. Preferably one that has a shipping section with it also, where they would ship t-shirts or whatever out. You're not going for the products, you're going for the supplies. So I'm going to start off with the office area. Now inside an office area, and you'll see me keep looking down, guys, I'm reading my notes because I didn't want to forget anything. But inside the office area, you're going to find very valuable items that a lot of people won't think of. And this might even be a place that you worked in at one time, and you know the people who were there and the things that could have been left behind. So I'm going to go with some obvious things, then I'm going to start getting to more nitty gritty things that a lot of times people will be like, oh, I didn't even think about that. And I'm going to tell you what you can use these for also. But the number one thing that is in every office place is paper clips. You can turn paper clips into all kinds of items with minimal tools. All you need is a pair of, like 2 pairs of needle nose pliers, and you can make small chains. You can make fishing hooks. You can make clips to hang up curtains or whatever you need to do. Paper clips are so handy in a survival situation. I mean, MacGyver himself used paper clips so many times in the TV show, right? The next thing is going to be thumbtacks, what you hang posters up with or paper up with. You know, whenever you need to have an inspirational poster inside your cubicle. And I'll talk about cubicles here in a second. But thumbtacks are a sharp pointed piece of metal with a wooden or plastic tip on the end. You can use them in traps. You can use them, again, to hang things up, but you're not having to use screws and nails. You can use them to hang up items or to even create a shelter with the thumbtacks and some plastic. The next thing is another item that you can use to make shelter is a stapler and staples. You remember back in our school days, whenever the teacher would open up the stapler and start hanging stuff up on the bulletin board. The same concept can work in creating a shelter with plastic and just the staples. And enough staples will hold that together. Now, is this going to be a permanent structure? No. But if you're needing to hang some plastic up over a window because you're creating a greenhouse effect or to insulate a room, you can do that with the thumbtacks and with the staples. Something else that people don't think about is pins, especially mechanical pins. You have the plastic that can be melted down, plus you have the spring on the inside that, again, you can make fishing hooks out of. You can make mechanisms for traps. They're actually pretty decent springs. Another item, and this is something to look around for, is awards or trophies. Okay? And I know everybody right now is like, what in the world is he talking? Yeah, they're heavy. A lot of awards will have a wooden base, so that is a small amount of firewood. There will be a metal bolt and nut of some kind on the inside that you can use for fabrication or building. The plastic or metal that it's made out of can be melted down and made into other items. Again, we're going sustainability here. But you can take these things, melt them down, and make plastic spearheads. You can take the glass trophies if you have someone that can nap and make arrowheads and things out of the glass to be able to make arrows for hunting or protection. Another thing, and this is something, a fire extinguisher will be on every floor in multiple places in these buildings, and fire extinguishers are extremely handy, not just for putting out fires, but it's a sealed container that you can use to store water or something in. Also, the fire hose itself if they're older buildings, a lot of them will have the fire hose built inside of it in the stairwells and different places. Those are extremely strong material that you can use to make clothing out of or patch clothing. You can make gloves out of and use it for a ton of resources. It itself is a phenomenal cord. Now, hand sanitizer will be throughout the place, so you have that. But speaking of hand sanitizer, look for a janitorial closet or a maintenance room. The janitorial closet will have all kinds of cleaning supplies, rubber gloves, masks, garbage bags, all kinds of items you will need to keep things sanitized, cleaned, and maintained in that closet, including garbage cans and the garbage bags. Again, you can turn a garbage bag into anything, poncho, all kinds of stuff. All right, guys, so I talked about the janitorial closet. Now let's talk about the maintenance room. Now, I will say this, depending on the building, sometimes the maintenance and janitorial area is the exact same thing, okay? But in some places, because they don't outsource everything, all maintenance to be fixed, look for a maintenance room. A lot of times it's in the basement or it's in its own little area caged up. It could even just be a small little caged area. But in there, you're going to find tools of all kinds, not just certain tools. You're going to find all kinds of tools if it's a general maintenance area. You're going to find wire that you can use for building. You can find plumbing supplies depending on what they do there. You will find an array of items that you can turn into all kinds of stuff. A bunch of PVC pipe will make a really nice shelter or a really nice greenhouse to put on a roof of a building very easily. Let's talk about some structures that are inside the office building. So one of the things that I want to talk about, and this is something that will help out, especially if your new base camp that you ended up in is just more of a big open room and there's not a lot of private spaces for people to have their own space and to sleep, or even a place that's set aside as a triage or quarantine area if someone gets sick. But look at the cubicles that are there. A lot of cubicles are not permanent pieces of the building. Most of them are just panels that are put up that you could easily take apart, put inside a truck or a trailer, and then carry these things back to your bug out or your new base camp, right? I almost said bug out location, but your base camp. And with that, you can create individual little areas that people can have their own little apartment, even if it's small, that is theirs. It gives them a sense of ownership of that spot when chaos is happening around them. It gives them a private place to go that is their area. They can decorate it how they want to, and they're able to go and have a private place, and that lifts morale. But since we're talking about cubicles, let's talk about all the stuff that's in a cubicle. Now, we've talked about paper clips and thumbtacks and staplers, yes. But let's talk about things that are in the drawers. There could be medication that's left behind. Now, I do not ever recommend anyone taking anything that is prescribed unless we all know what it is and you have a doctor in your group that will help you. But there could be Tylenol, there could be Pepto-Bismol, anything like that in those drawers, along with hand sanitizer, along with an item that a lot of people don't think about and take for granted, but letter openers. I can take, well, depending on the letter opener, okay, some of them are the little square things that has the slit at the top with a razor blade on the inside that you could easily take apart and use as a knife in a survival situation. But also the all metal letter openers can be turned into spears. They can be sharpened. Yes, they're not going to hold an edge perfect, but it will do what you need to do for hunting or even protection. You can take 3 of them and wrap them onto a stick or a mop handle with some duct tape that you found inside this place, or packing tape, and we'll get into the packing area here in a minute, and turn that into a spear. Another thing that's there is a computer and a monitor. Now, you might not necessarily need everything off of this. The monitor itself, there's probably not a lot you can use off of it besides the plastic melting it down into something. But the cords and the cables that are there are very handy building tools. Also, the CPU itself has a metal casing on it, and some of them, let me walk over here and grab. Have a fan cover that in a next video, we're going to be turning into a grill that can set over a fire with some clips that we got from our office space. And I'm not talking about paper clips, even though that's what they're used for. It's the actual squeeze clips, the black ones or blue or whatever color they are, that have the two little prongs on the outside, all of which can be turned into some cool stuff, and a couple bolts that we found. And we're going to turn this into a grill that we can boil water. So that will be in the next video. There's also a lot of times there will be clothing that's left behind, jackets. Check every desk drawer. Check also the break room. There will be a lot of times water coolers. And if the water's not stored there, there is a closet close by where the water is being stored. And that's gallons of water. There's also a lot of times that there will be food or granola bars or ramen noodles or anything, oatmeal, all of that, even coffee in that break room. Also check the reception area if there's a waiting room where people will have to wait long periods of time. Also check inside boardrooms or big meeting rooms, because there will be resources in there that they might keep in there at all times, like small refrigerators stocked full of water and drinks, or snacks that they might have for the big board meetings. Also, check executive offices. They will have resources in there that most people didn't realize would be there. There will be things in their desks, or even picture frames on the desk can be used in survival situations. There's little pieces of glass or plexiglass inside those picture frames that you can turn into, eventually put them all together and make a greenhouse if you had to, or repair a window or something inside your location that needs to be repaired. Again, guys, you got to improvise. Now, let's talk about the shipping and receiving area depending on the office space that it is, because some office buildings do ship items out. And in that area, you will find an array of tools that you can use for survival. So let's get into this thought. There is packing supplies such as bubble wrap, paper, boxes, and plastic wrap. Plastic wrap itself makes a phenomenal shelter. It can make a really nice greenhouse, and you wrap it. And it won't just be one or two things. There'll be cases of these things. There will also be possible cases of foam, the spray foam stuff that they'll use for packing, or they will have the pre-made ones that you have to pop and those foam up, and you can use that for insulation. Also, packing peanuts is good insulation. But you will also find pallets. You will find that you can turn into shelters or build structures out of. It's wood. Plus, again, tape and tape guns, computers that you'll be able to get all the cordage from. And there might even be the packing rope that they use to tie up packages with. You may even find straps to be able to strap things down. It just all depends on the shipping supplies that's there. All right, guys, so the last thing I'm going to talk about, but this is nowhere near everything that's in these buildings. I mean, because I can talk about metal trash cans that are there that you can use to make fire pits out of. I can talk about all kinds of items that are going to be there. But you need to open up every cabinet, every drawer, as much as you possibly can without being seen. And get stuff moved as quick as possible, but try to hit every nook and cranny, because people hide things in their desks like crazy. I've worked in the corporate world before. But the last thing I want to talk about, at least in this video, see if they have a nurse that is in-house. When I worked for a corporate industrial company, we had an on-site nurse that could give us ibuprofen. They could check us out if we got hurt. They had bandages and Band-Aids there. If you had got something in your eye, there was a wash station. They had like a whole little area that they could actually do some stuff for you there if you got hurt. They even had like a gurney that you could get on to roll people out if something happened. And some places even have a first responder group that have first aid bags. But if they don't have that, I can guarantee you every place, even the areas that I worked in shipping and receiving, had first aid kits everywhere. In every floor, multiple ones in every office were there. So check for those things. And a lot of people don't think about those or even think about an office space in a sense to have these kind of survival items. So in closing, I want to say this. Over the course of the next few videos, we're going to be talking about improvising and making stuff work for you. I have an old CPU we're going to take apart and we're going to work on with some things. I have, again, the fan cover from a fan on a CPU, or I don't even know where I got it from. It was off something, a forklift or whatever. It was a fan cover that we're going to turn into a way to boil water over a fire, make a grill that way with just some basic stuff, a few bolts and some clips. But when we're going through this, I do need you to also think about, what does your tools look like? Now, you don't need a ton of tools. I'm going to be doing all this stuff with some basic tools, but you are going to need some kind of tools. And I'm meaning hand tools. I'm meaning a hammer. You're going to need one or two kind of punches or chisels. You're going to need a way to cut metal, even if it's a pair of tin snips. You're going to need some pliers. And if you'd like me to do a video talking about a survival toolbox on the basic tools to have, I would love to do one of those. So just put it in the comments and just say, hey, what kind of tools would I need? And I'm talking basic set, but you are going to need some basic tools, or you're not going to be able to do any repairs around your base camp. You're not going to be able to fix the roof. You're not going to be able to do all those things. And as I've said in previous videos, get books, physical books, so you have the knowledge there to be able to fix things as they break and set up a better system and get into sustainability so you're not always in survival. Guys, that is the video. I hope you enjoyed it. I will see you on the next one. Get outside and have an adventure. God bless.